Welcome back to America's Finest Sports. This is not a Friar Talk Tuesday, but we are all here together. This is also going to be broadcasting on Friar Talk's YouTube as well. But today we're going to talk about fantasy football. We haven't really talked about fantasy football as us three in quite some time, but we wanted to bring it up. We're actually recording right now during a Padres game, so this is a rarity. The Padres are winning big, so not a game that's a very close one right now. But we're going to be talking about fantasy football for a little bit. I'm going to basically be doing a little bit of a draft guide for guys that we like. So my thought on how we're going to explain it is we're going to talk about running backs, going to talk about wide receivers, going to talk about quarterbacks, tight ends, and then maybe we'll throw in a couple defenses at the end. But honestly, how are you guys feeling about, this upcoming fantasy season? And if you're looking at running back, what's your strategy? We can start with you, Isaac. We'll go to Chase, and then we can come back to me. But, what are your guys' strategies, and are there any specific players that you guys are targeting?
So our running back, I got to leave with at least one in the first 3 rounds, preferably two. We just did a salary cap auction draft, so like I haven't exactly gone through round for round stuff like that. But the past few years, I've gone running back, and that's only because the wide receivers were really deep, and I knew I could probably get a wide receiver one or at least a safe wide receiver one in the third and the fourth round. But I think kind of this year you can steer in the direction where if you're in the first round and let's go with Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. Maybe not even Eckler. But let's say those first three are gone. You should absolutely take Justin Jefferson, 100%. That is the one guy that I'm definitely going after. Those three are gone. Now, after those running backs, the running backs I like, I think Dalvin Cook is kind of going for a massive discount in some drafts. I think in a regular home draft, you'll see him go in the top 6, top 7. But, I mean, in some other drafts, he's going back in first round, early second. And I kind of think it's justified just because a lot of people are scared about his injuries, which every single year, you can probably expect Dalvin Cook to miss a solid 2 games, something like that. But the 2 previous years before last year, he had scored 16 touchdowns in each of those. Last year, he scored 6. Everything tells me that those 6 are going to at least double. That's going to double minimum. So I'm expecting big things from Dalvin Cook, and I think a lot of people are scared of that new Kevin O'Connell offense where there's going to be a lot of passing. But, I mean, out of the backfield, I think he's going to be the primary weapon when it comes to the passing game, and he's going to be the number 2 option in that. I think he's going to be the number 2 option in that offense after Justin Jefferson. And if you had told me years ago that there'd be somebody that overlapped Dalvin Cook as a number one option in the offense, I think you were insane. But Justin Jefferson is that good. So if the 3 guys I mentioned before are gone, get Justin Jefferson. Another guy I like, there's honestly a lot of guys that I like. I like Aaron Jones a lot just because I know he has a lot of receiving upside, does really good with Devontae Adams out. Javonte Williams I like. I think people are kind of drafting him at his floor. I think like running back 17, running back 13, something like that. And I think that's his floor considering he was like the running back 17 as sharing a 50-50 split with Melvin Gordon. So Gordon gets hurt, you got yourself a top 5, top 10 running back. And remember, Gordon gets hurt misses at least 2 to 4 games a year. But yeah, I think those are kind of the first 3 guys that pop off. Of course, I mean, I drafted Alvin Kamara. You're either all in or you're all out on Alvin Kamara. You're either scared he's going to get suspended or you want to win. I know which one I want to do.
I probably would draft Derrick Henry ahead of Justin Jefferson. That's me personally. We saw what he did last year. I know they're probably going to ride him into the ground again this year. And he's built for it. He's just sort of built differently than every other running back out there. So, I probably wouldn't take Justin Jefferson 4. I'd probably go Derrick Henry. I'm with Isaac. Whatever you guys do, not do the 0 running back strategy. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. You look at a lot of the backfields and you're going to go, okay, if I do not get at least 2 solid running backs, I may be screwed out of the entire season because if one of them gets hurt and you're down to 1, there's not a lot of good options after that. I mean, you have a couple of guys that are sleepers like Brian Robinson. Depends on where Kenneth Walker does after his surgery, how long it takes for him to get back. Dameon Pierce. You really don't know what direction the Ravens backfield's going. It looks like Dobbins is going to be back, but possibly missing week 1. But they also have Edwards and Mike Davis there. You have the Jets with Breece Hall and Michael Carter. The 49ers backfield's never really cleared. You have Connor out on the Cardinals, which he's a solid option. You definitely could take him probably third round. He'll probably fall to there, if not fourth. Uh, I know a lot of people are probably going to discount him, but you got to take Uncle Lenny whenever you can. Try to get him as low as a value as you can because you can stack your team around him. I know a lot of people have been sort of kind of just avoiding him, but he won a lot of people championships last year. I probably would only draft 3 running backs in a row just because of how deep receivers are, and plus you have a lot of guys coming into their second year. You have Elijah Moore, who's sort of a breakout candidate, especially since Garrett Wilson's going to be there and healthy. Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have Darnell Mooney. He's going to do pretty well. You just have a lot of depth at receiver, and you don't really have to worry about it. Running back, on the other hand, if you don't have yourself at least 3 solid running backs, you're going to find a tough time to win this season.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you. And I do think it's also funny that Chase, you bring up not doing 0 running back just because maybe not doing 0 running back. That's not accurate, but not having a running back too, because I do remember how you won last season. And that was with a Rashad Penny waiver pickup as your RB2. And that took you to the promised land. So there is that chance of it. But in terms of like 0 running back or trying to like wait on running back, I think it's really foolish. And I don't really know why people do it anymore. I mean, if you look at like the first, like, I'll say like the first like 20 or so running backs, maybe there's like 18 guys that I like in like that top kind of tier. If you don't get like 2 of them, you're probably going to be screwed at running back too. Like that's just the reality of it. Now you can always land some sleeper guys. I think if you're going to wait on running back, or even if you do wait, but anyone later on, I think everyone should be going after rookie backs. I think Dameon Pierce, I think Brian Robinson, Isaiah Spiller, Zamir White. Like if you can get like 2 of those guys, one of those 4 is definitely going to be great this year. This happens every single season. One of the guys that gets drafted later on in the draft ends up being pretty good. So I would say always try to get like 2 of those guys maybe. But in terms of like Isaac Chase, you guys were talking about like drafting running back early, maybe getting a Derrick Henry or Uncle Lenny and like a Javonte Williams, like 2 of those guys, I think that sets you up perfectly for this season. I think if you don't do it, and also Eric says he's going to lose his draft out of this team. Real nice confidence, Eric. But no, I think that you got to go running back heavy early.